how do you know if you're depressed or not? Literally, like I made a guide to depression where the second or the third video after the intro is there are two types of depression. There is something called pathologic depression, which is an illness, and there's something called congruent depression. Are you depressed because your brain is messed up and you have a cognitive bias and you're not looking at the world in the right way? Yeah, but how do we know that cognition exists?
What is that distinction between being unhappy and depressed? Because you mentioned there was a difference there.
Yeah, so I mean, depression is a pathologic state, right? It is a sickness of the mind. And that's because in psychiatry, we have no objective evidence of the mind. There's a difference between someone coming into my office and who's suicidal because their mind is not functioning correctly. This is mental illness. It is a pathology. Their thoughts are warped. We just can't measure thoughts, right? So I can't detect thoughts. I can't verify for you that thoughts exist. You may have clinical depression, but I think what you're describing is not clinical depression. So I'm going to explain to you guys what clinical depression is. I think your problem is that your life is empty. That's different. And in fact, that's what we were going to talk to the other person about today, and we will. So I got a bunch of questions about this because...
Wait, so you're saying you think I was diagnosed incorrectly when they said I have bipolar?
You may have depression on top of that. But what I want you to understand is that like there are different flavors of depression. One of them is a biological, organic, neurochemical kind of thing. Depression is not caused by a serotonin imbalance. There isn't a neurochemical imbalance that causes something like a mood disorder. There's a group of people who seem to be despairing in life. These are people who, it's not quite depression. So this is not like a neurochemistry imbalance in the brain that is triggering all this.
Psychiatrists are getting more and further and further and further away from this human-to-human touch. And they're becoming more and more quacks, where they talk and act and impersonate doctors. They talk about diagnoses and treatments and the brain and all this kind of stuff about which they know nothing. Zero.